Today, we're going to talk about visiting Xinjiang as a tourist. My name is Jason. I'm originally from sunny California, now living in beautiful Beijing. Today's guest is an influencer and key opinion leader with more than 100,000 followers on YouTube. You can find his channel at King Kwesi. He travels throughout China, interacting with locals and sharing his travels with the world. This is his second appearance on our show. Welcome back to the Bridge to China, King Kwesi.
Thank you so much, Jason, for inviting me to be part of your show once again. Yeah, I was here like a year ago, and I'm back on your show. Feels good to be
That's
back.
great. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice because you live in Weihai. Weihai is real. I go to Yantai every year, so I'm really close to you at Chinese New Year every year. One of these years we need to get together.
ready to get your show.
Can you, well, before we get started, I'm sure a lot of our new fans don't know who you are. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself, when you came to China, and where you're living, how long you've been here, and stuff like that?
Yeah, okay. So my name is King Kwesi. That is my name on all social media platforms, on YouTube, WeChat channel, Instagram, Twitter, on TikTok. It's King Kwesi. I'm from Ghana, originally from Ghana, and I've been living in China for the past 11 years now. Yeah, I came to China in May 2013 as a student to study Chinese, but along the line, I got a job and I switched up to work here. So I've been working here since 2013. And yeah, I live in a small city in the Shandong province called Weihai, a coastal city, which I love so much because it's very calm. It's not so busy, just like Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. It's a very chilled place. I have the beach to myself. So yeah, I've been here for 11 years now. And also I travel around China to the major cities of China to do what I call Living in China series, where I interview people just like yourself. I mean, you've been on my show before to share your experience of living in China as a foreigner. And I can boldly say I've interviewed more than 100 foreigners in China, sharing their experiences from marriage life, from work life, from student life, from traveling around China as newcomers, as new visitors. I mean, I've done what I call Living in China series on the streets of Beijing, in Shanghai, in Wuhan, in Yantai, in Weihai. I mean, I've traveled a lot in China, and yeah, I do what I call sharing my experiences through my YouTube channel, through my Instagram page, through my TikTok pages, and all social media platforms to tell the side of China that people really don't get to see. I mean, the real life experience of people that have been here for years, people that are coming here to study, and people who are willing to share their experiences. Yeah, so that's what I do here.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. You've traveled to a lot of cities. I think for a lot of people who don't live in China, their actual first feeling is, what should I go to see in China? Since you've been everywhere, or a lot of places, where would you recommend that people who haven't been to China yet go to experience first?
I think China as a country is very diverse. China is made up of places. I think you can have every bit of every country in China. If you want a desert life, you can have it in China. If you want a beach life, you can have it in China. If you want a village life, the county level life, you can have it. If you want a busy, bustling city life, you can. So it depends on what people are coming here to see. But I believe at first comers, if you don't want to have the impression of China, Beijing is good. You can go to Beijing first. You can go to Shanghai, Guangzhou. Mostly you have to land in these mega cities, right? And that's the gateway to China. Either you land in Beijing, Guangzhou, Shanghai, Chongqing. So it depends on what people are really coming here to see. I mean, my first city was Guangzhou. And when I got to Guangzhou in 2013, I was like, is this China? Because back home we used to watch Journey to the West, and it was not like the busy city life, all the lights. It was just the village life of China. And when I go to Guangzhou, I was shocked to see the development of Guangzhou. That's 11 years ago. I was like, oh, this is China. Then I went to Beijing, I went to Shanghai. I was like, okay. Because in my mind and what I saw before coming here, I never anticipated China to be this developed when I came here in 2013. So basically, it depends on what people are coming here to see. But first, go to the busy city life and have the bit of the city life. Then if you want to go to Guilin, if you want to go to Guilin, if you want to go to those places, the Avatar Mountain, you can also go and see nature.
I just, for the very first, I've also been here almost the same amount of time as you. I arrived at the end of 2012. So I actually just went to Guangzhou for the first time last month. And I went to a place called Shangxiajiu and another place called Beijinglu. And it was really like, it feels like wherever you go in China, in the really big cities, they have these walking streets, pedestrian streets, right? It feels like if you could just link all of these pedestrian streets, you'd have like one of the most beautiful spectacles in the world. Guangzhou was really, really nice. I liked it a lot. So it's fun that you got to experience that first. Um, for you, what did I love Wuhan. I gotta say, it's one of my favorite cities. What did you think? Because you just mentioned that you'd been there. What did you think of Wuhan?
Wuhan is amazing. I mean, 4 years ago, if we were talking about Wuhan, it was going to be a different conversation because of COVID, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I was in Wuhan because I wanted to go see a little girl who has a sad story about living in China. The dad is from Ghana. The dad was from Ghana. The mom is Chinese. And this kid, when she was born, for some reason, the mother abandoned the kid for the father to take care of the kid. And around 2019 September, the father also disappeared in China. And later, the police found that he was dead somewhere, right? So the kid now lives with the grandmother. So once in a while, I go to Wuhan because they live in a small city around Wuhan, which is about 40 minutes from Wuhan, called Anglu. So once in a while, I just go there just to check up on her because I believe as a community, we need to stand up for each other. We need to be there for each other. So I'm just standing as a big uncle for this little girl who is 11 years old, mixed race, Chinese and Ghanaian, living in Anglu. So once in a while, I go to Wuhan just to see her. And I mean, Wuhan is very fantastic. I went out at night. It was very safe to be out till like 8 a.m. in the morning the next day. It's bustling, just like, if you go to Shanghai, the vibe you see in Shanghai is the same as Wuhan, busy streets, people living their life, development ongoing in different places. And for the first time, I tried a SkyTrain in Wuhan.
Oh yeah, I saw you on the SkyTrain on YouTube. Really cool.
I tried for the
Because
first
you
time,
actually
and
sat down on the glass.
I sat down on the glass. It was, I just took some shots which I thought was going to be interesting for people to see. I didn't just want to go and sit in a SkyTrain, just like every person. So I sat on the glass while the train was moving in the sky. It was just an amazing experience, just to experience China from different angles. Because my first time I was on the subway was in China. My first time I was on a flight to a different country was to China. I mean, being here for 10 years, I've experienced life in different angles. And being in Wuhan and being on the SkyTrain for the first time, it was so surreal, I didn't really feel like it was real,
I want to ask you, because you're sitting like, sitting down, plopped down on the glass. Did it feel like you're like flying?
At a point, I felt a little bit scared because I thought, like, okay, what happens if this goes down, But even on the train, there were other Chinese people also sitting on the glass. And I met this Indian big YouTuber who was also traveling to China for the first time. He was also on the glass. I saw a little kid sitting on the glass. So I thought it was, let me also do it, Let me also do it.
That's really cool. So the reason I had you on is because I'm about to go to Xinjiang again. I went last year. I'm about to go in a few days, and I wanted to talk to you about the fact that you just got back from Xinjiang. And
Yes,
this is increasingly a lot of foreigners are traveling to Xinjiang. I see all of the major influencers taking trips there. So I wanted to ask you about your trip. What did you think of Xinjiang?
I mean, being here for over 10 years, Xinjiang has been one of the places that I really wanted to go for so many years. But anytime I check the tickets, I got scared because it's far from Shandong. It's far from everywhere. It was 5 hours from Shanghai. That is how far it is to go to Xinjiang. So you need a lot of resources in terms of flight. So I got some money. I got some money through my work I do on YouTube. And I'm like, okay, let me invest this money and go to Xinjiang and see Xinjiang for myself. Because for so many years, anytime you hear Xinjiang, what comes to your mind is, in quotes, oppression. What comes to your mind in quotes is people who are deprived of their livelihood, their freedom, their religion, and their ethnicity. So for me, I was like, okay, let me just go there and experience this place for the first time and for myself, through my own eyes, through my own camera, and through my own experiences. So that was the reason why I went to Xinjiang. And it's one of the best places I've been in China. I wouldn't lie.
Well, I mean, it's a huge place. So where did you go? What part of the Xinjiang did you go to?
Okay, so initially my plan was to go to Urumqi and go to Kasher. But because I had to go to Wuhan, I had to cut my short very trip. So I stayed in the capital. That's Urumqi. That's where I stayed for 2-3 days. Yeah.
Wow. So what did you think? What was your experience like? Were people all oppressed and stuff?
Let me tell you a funny story. So because I was going to Xinjiang, and from the stories I've seen and read, it was about oppression, people who are forced into labor. So when I got off the plane at the airport, okay, my first impression was from Shanghai. So I thought I was going to be maybe the only person going to Xinjiang because it's a crazy place, nobody want to go. So when I got to the boarding gate, And I'm like, so all these people are going to Xinjiang. Then I'm like, I started asking myself questions. Why are all these people going to Xinjiang? Then the flight itself was very huge. It was very big. I think we were more than 100 people on the flight that day. Then we arrived in Xinjiang. Then I look at the airport. I'm like, is this the Xinjiang they're talking about? So at first, I got my bag and I was just getting out of the airport, and I saw KFC. I'm like, they have KFC also in Xinjiang, you know. So people here also eat KFC. Then the surprise that blew my mind was the subway. Because if there's a kind of genocide going on in a country or a place, how come they have subway system there? Even Weihai, I live in Weihai. There's no subway in Weihai. So they have a subway system that is running, that is clean, running from the airport to the city center. So I decided not to take a taxi or a bus, but to ride a subway, just to have an experience of the life from the airport to the city center. So I took the subway, and to my surprise, I saw the Uyghur writings, Chinese writings, and English writings giving direction to different places on the subway. Then I'm like, okay, this is actually looking good, because there's a subway system in this city. It means my experience is going to be different from what I've read online. So yeah, that was my first experience getting into the city.
Well, you know, I had similar experience. I actually took taxis around when I was there last year. But one of the things I noticed immediately, because I've heard they're erasing the culture, right? They're erasing the language. So everywhere I looked, Uyghur language. The elevator, it's Chinese and Uyghur. You know, the menu at the restaurant, Chinese and Uyghur. You know, everywhere I went, the signs on the street, Chinese and Uyghur. So it was just like immediately, okay, this is not the story that I've been told. And people were just, you know, you would expect, okay, people are being tucked away or whatever. Men, right? You would expect men between age like 16 and 35 to be missing. But that wasn't the case. Like, I just saw men and women of all ages everywhere. So it was clearly, it didn't seem like, you know, okay, so you walked around. One of the things I saw in one of your videos is someone gave you their baby. Could you tell us what happened?
So when I was in Xinjiang, one of the experiences or things that really, I think, got people fascinated was the fact that I was an African, I was a black person. My style, my hair, everything, my beard, everything is different. So the first thing that comes to their mind when they see me, maybe they thought because of the beard, maybe they think I'm Islamic person, because I saw a random man say "Assalamu alaikum" to me. Assalamu alaikum. That's Arabic, meaning peace be unto you, on the street, randomly. Right? Then when I was in the street, a lot of people were just asking for pictures, you know? And I think it's very common in China. When you travel to different places in China, it happens a lot when you're a foreigner, because you stand out because you're a foreigner. And people mostly want to take a picture with you for the memory's sake, not because they see you to be exotic or whatever, but they see you to be, maybe I think it's one of the ways that Chinese used to welcome people into their country, just taking pictures. So I do that a lot. It depends on my mood though. But when I was in Xinjiang, I took so many pictures. Then I was vlogging on the street, and this family asked me for a picture. The next minute, a woman just came and handed over a baby to me. I was like, yo, I got a baby in Xinjiang. I got a baby in Xinjiang. So yeah, somebody just walked up to me and handed over a baby to me just to take a picture with the baby for the memory's sake. So that was what happened in the video.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, so they wanted a picture with you together, and they're just like, hold this baby, let's all get around you.
Hold this baby, and just take a picture with the baby. The parents were not part of the picture. It was just the baby and myself.
They just have a picture with our baby.
Exactly. I was just the baby and myself. Wow. You know? So after the videos and the picture, the father came for the baby. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what did you think about like shopping, walking around, food, music, anything like that?
Man, I went to one of the busiest places, which is called the Grand International Bazaar. And that's where, if you want to buy anything relating to the Xinjiang culture, you can find it right at that spot. So it's a whole lot of shops and places to eat, restaurants, different people selling different items. So on that street, you hear a lot of the Uyghur ethnic music on that street. You see a lot of people wearing their Uyghur costume, different beautiful costume, you know, and actually took some pictures with some kids and some old people, you know, wearing their costumes. And you see the men wearing the Islamic hat around their head, you know. I saw that a lot. I saw people speaking their local language, and there were a lot to eat, a lot of things to see. I mean, it was so fascinating, you know. And I was the only foreigner at that time, at that very moment. So there were a lot of eyes on me. People were just asking me, where am I from? What am I doing here? There were this young guys, maybe around the age of 14, they just walk up to me and he said in Chinese, did you travel here by yourself? I said, yes. Sure, I said, yes. So what are you doing here? I said, I'm here to make videos. For which platform? I said, okay, for foreigners platform. The guy said, okay, hey, foreigners, look at us. Thank you. These are young, we got, young guys that walk up
Yeah.
to me. And it was an amazing experience over there. I wouldn't lie.
Yeah, so it sounds like you got treated really well. I had a similar experience. Wow. So you went to only one city. You went to Urumqi, right?
I want to, yes.
That's great. I want to go back to Kashgar. I went to Urumqi too. I want to go to Kashgar next time. Last time I went through a bunch of cities in the Hotan and the southern desert, but I think I want to take another trip, maybe every year for a couple of years. It's very, you were mentioning at the beginning of the show that whatever your lifestyle you're looking for in China, you want to go to the beach, you want to live in the city, you want to live in a small town, or you want to live in a village, and you can also live in a place that is very different from this side of China, because
China,
like
exactly.
the food is different, the languages are different, like it's radically different, like in so many different kinds of ways. The food, did you try the chuar like on the stick?
I did that. I ate these noodles, these beef noodles. Oh, and I even ate on the street. It's even in my video now. So when I was going to my hotel to check in, I saw this couple selling on the streets, and it was cow and sheep intestines, and they have something stuck in it, like like wrapped in the intestines,
Yeah.
and soup being sold on the street. So I told them, let me go check in and come back. And it was one of the best things I ate in Xinjiang. I actually ate like 3 times in a row. It was so
Yeah, you
good.
know what? It was so good. I had that in Qinghai. In Qinghai, I was walking down the street with my wife, and we were like in an Islamic part of the city, and they were like these spicy kind of meat stuffed intestines, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
I want to try that for sure. And my wife was like, ew. So I ate it, and I was like, wow, this is one of the best things I've eaten in years. It
Yes,
was
it was
so
one of the
good.
best. Absolutely. It was one of the best
Yeah.
things I ate in Xinjiang. And when I went to the Grand Bazaar, International Grand Bazaar area, I heard like the ethnic music.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, anytime you hear this kind of, because in Weihai, sometimes I go to the city square in Weihai and I see the Uyghur people play their music and dance in the city square. So I have an idea of how the sounds, how it sounds in my ear. So when I heard it, I'm like, oh, I feel like these people are dancing in the city square and I want to go join them. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not sure they'll allow me to join because I don't know what they are doing over there, but I'll just go. So when I went there, it was like hundreds of people gathered, made a circle, and people were dancing in the circle. There were young
Wow.
kids dancing, old, and the young people dancing. So I was just there recording the video, and one woman just came up to me. Hello, okay. I think she's limited in the kind of language, the English language. So like, hello, okay, okay. And she just dragged me to the city center. And it was chaotic. At the point, it was chaotic because every person wanted me to dance with her. Every man, woman, the aged, the young, everybody was just coming for a dance. And it went on for more than 20 minutes. At the point, I was like, I'm tired. I had to run away because people were just coming just have a dance. It was so energetic, and I was so tired at the point. People were asking for pictures, videos, dance. It was a beautiful experience for me, because it is a way of these people sharing their culture with the world. I'm from
Yeah.
Ghana, traveled all the
You know
way
what?
to Xinjiang.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. I see people here dancing to local to their Uyghur and Hui ethnic music and stuff, but there's no way I would jump into the dance. So that's really impressive. I hope to get to see some of that video. Um, yeah, here I usually just see small groups of about 20 people in the parks and stuff dancing like that style. And there's no way I would join. I'm not brave. I'm not as brave as you, my friend. If she was pulling me, I might just be like, no, no, don't take me. But that's what people don't understand about China. It's not just Xinjiang, it's not just Uyghurs, it's not just Hui, but it's like everybody in China is always dancing. Like at night, you go to city squares all over China and people are just dancing. Like it's a very common practice here in
It's very
China.
common, yeah, very common thing in
I don't know
China.
how it is in Ghana because in the United States, people don't just randomly start dancing in city squares.
No, no, in Ghana, it happens in the bars, in the clubs, but it's kind of random to see people just dancing on the streets, gathered dancing on the street, unless maybe there's a function, maybe funeral, maybe a naming ceremony, a wedding. But in China, they don't need an occasion to dance, right? A couple of ayis can come together, aunties can come together, have their little speaker, and start dancing. For them, it's also a way to exercise their body, right?
Right.
It's a way to exercise their body.
One of the things that you do is you're actually also, in addition to travel, your fitness as well. So on
Yeah.
your profiles
Yeah.
it says that you're into fitness. So dancing for 20 minutes until you're out of breath, that sounds like it's part of your MO, right?
Yeah. Right.
Well, so people were able to speak Chinese to you, and they also were speaking their native languages as well. So you were able to get around by speaking Chinese to people.
Yeah, I mean, when I go to the city, one of the things that I heard what I was different was the Uyghur language. Almost every person that I saw on the street was speaking the Uyghur language. But when they see you as a foreigner, because they know automatically as a foreigner, they don't speak the local language, they will switch to the Chinese Mandarin. So I was able to get around. I was able to get around by speaking Mandarin. But most of the guys that I met on the street and I asked them, "Are you Uyghur?" They were like, "Yeah, I'm Uyghur." There was actually one man that I met on the street, and he came to me for a picture. And after that, he goes, "Where are you from?" I'm from Ghana. I said, "Oh, I've been to Ghana. I've been to Senegal. I've been to Ghana."
Oh,
and we had a conversation about Ghana, Accra. And he's a Uyghur. He's a Uyghur person.
Wow, that's fascinating. Well, you mentioned people. This is what I found. People were dressed in traditional sorts of costumes, outfits, But I also saw a lot of Uyghur and Chinese Han people who were just dressed in normal modern clothes. So I don't think that, in my experience, wasn't that like Uyghurs walk around dressed the way that they dressed 50 or 100 years ago, but they also just dressed in like jeans and t-shirts and stuff. What was your experience?
Exactly. I mean, mostly you see them like those who are selling their costume, because when you go to the Grand Bazaar streets, right, you see these local Uyghur people trying to get customers to wear their costume and take pictures. So in a way to portray the culture, they themselves wear their costume just to attract people. So I saw that, and I also saw some local people. Like I saw a young girl. I think I have the picture here. I can show you right here. I saw a young girl on the street with a mom, and the girl had a Uyghur costume on, right on the street. Right on the street, the kid had a Uyghur costume on. And I took a picture with the girl. This is the picture right here. I don't know whether you can see that.
Oh, I saw this picture. I downloaded this picture because I thought it was so cool.
This picture, right?
Yeah.
So this picture was right on the street. And look at these girls. I also have another picture I took with these young ladies that I met on the street also. Right here. You can see it right here. See?
Yeah.
They are wearing their Uyghur. And actually, I saw one young boy who was also selling hats on the street, and he actually sold me a hat. These are local handmade Uyghur hats.
Nice.
And I bought this. It's right here. I bought it for 10 kwai. He sold for me for 10 kwai, and I bought this hat in Uyghur. So I saw people dress up in the local costumes, and I also saw people also wearing normal costume, normal dresses, normal jeans, normal shirts, and those, and mostly importantly, those who do sell food, like at the restaurants, you see them, their head covered with a Islamic hats.
Yeah, I see that in the restaurants in Beijing as well. I think that's required or something for serving food or something. I'm not sure. But I also bought one of the square traditional Uyghur hats at the airport on the way out because I forgot I hadn't bought my wife anything yet. So I bought that for her on the way back. And then I was like, oh, here, I got this gift for you. She doesn't wear it, but it's on display in our house.
Nice.
Yes, that's, I've noticed that you speak really good Mandarin, actually. I was watching a video of you yesterday sometime. I think it was just on someone else's X account because, people are stealing your videos and just posting them on their own social media at this point. And I saw this video of the police talking to you. Where was this?
The police talking to me, was it recent? If it's recent, then it was in Xinjiang. Because one of the things that I saw in Xinjiang, which is quite different from other places I've been in China, for the first time, when I was getting on the subway, I got my passport checked. This has never happened to me anywhere in China. I've been to Beijing, I've been to a lot of subways, Guangzhou, Xinjiang, but for the first time, I got my passport checked at the subway station. So that was my first shock. Then I got on the street. When I got on the street, I realized like once in a while when you're walking around, you see police vans, patrolling the street. So I ran the Grand Bazaar because people were taking a lot of pictures with me. People were just coming to me for a lot of pictures. So it caught the attention of the police. And the policeman called me and was like, oh, where are you from? Like, who you are? Where are you from? I'm from Ghana. So he wanted to see just my resident permit. It was just a check, So I gave my passport. Then at first he asked me like, China? I'm like, no, I'm not Chinese. I'm a foreigner. They're like, oh, foreigner, where are you from? And I said, I'm from Ghana. So Ghana.
Yeah,
So
but
he typed Ghana.
what was impressive is you did all of this in Mandarin, and I watched one of the videos of this happening, and I was quite impressed that your Chinese is quite fluent at this point.
Yeah, I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best to, because I feel
Like
like
you're like specific regional. I'm from West Africa, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I'm from West Africa. Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways that you can live in China and feel fulfilled, I mean, to get around easily to learn the language, because I feel like if you learn the language of people, in a way, you accept them and you accept their culture. So living here for so many years, I feel like one of the best things I could do for myself and for my mind and for my livelihood in this country is to learn the language, because that's the easiest way to interact with the people. This policeman wanted the basic information. His is limited in English. So if I could not speak Chinese, it was going to put me in a very hectic or awkward situation whereby I cannot express myself and he cannot understand what I mean. And it's going to create a whole kind of chaotic scene. So the best way I could do for myself was to learn the language, and I'm still learning. So he asked where I'm from, because Ghana is Jana in Chinese, Mandarin, and it sounds like Canada, because Canada is Janada.
Oh. Yeah.
So mostly when they say Jana, Chinese people know Canada, but most of them don't know Ghana. So you need to be very specific and say, oh, a West African country. So when I say West African country, it was like, okay. They give me a passport and they say thank you to me. So I was very fascinated. But after checking my passport, it was like, thank you. I mean, thank you for helping me to do my job. And yeah.
So, I mean, one of the things that I was interested in when I was walking around was, are there mosques? So my first time I arrived, the first day, it was evening, and sun was going to go down soon. I wanted to go and check immediately, can I find something nearby? So I started walking from my hotel, and I walked about 5 blocks in total. And in those 5 blocks, I found 2 mosques. So I after I got to the second one, and I was like, okay, yeah, they're here. Like, I felt satisfied, and I was able to go back to my hotel room. But what religious activities or people were saying hello to you or peace be upon you. What other activities did you notice that were where people were able to practice Islam?
I'm not gonna lie, I have a video coming up very soon. I think when I was in Urumqi, I visited more than 10 mosques. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow, you went to 10 mosques.
Yeah, it's a whole video that is coming up maybe very soon or maybe in November, because I have a whole lot of videos that I'm releasing a bit, because I wanted to see the life of the people out there, because we are told that people cannot have access to mosques, they cannot pray, they cannot practice their religion. But most of the mosques that I've visited, they do open after 10, right? And because of, I think, maybe previous reasons and previous tensions in that region of China, they don't allow foreigners into most of the mosques, because they don't know your intent of coming there. So what they told me, like, you can't enter this mosque, but I was able to go to 2 mosques that I entered. I entered one mosque, I filmed the imam, I shook the hands of the imam, because when I was filming there, the man just came and he said, Assalamu alaikum to me. And one man who could speak English, like, this is the imam. And I went back to him, now I shook his hands. I have the video coming up. I went to their mosque, they were praying, I saw them praying, the Islamic practice. I went there. The mosque is called the Shanxi Grand Mosque.
Oh yeah, I've seen videos of that one.
I went there, then I went to one of the most beautiful mosques I've seen in China, and I'll show you the picture right here. This is the picture.
Wow.
This is the picture right here.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Wow.
This is the picture right here. And that was after they were done with prayers, and you can see from here clearly, people were just coming out of the mosque. You can see right here.
Well, I very much look for. I will share your video when you put it live. Make sure you send a link to me. I'll share it on my platforms too. Yeah, for
so
sure.
I actually wanted to see if it's true that people cannot practice their religion, and what I saw was totally opposite from what I've seen on YouTube, I've seen online, I've read online, because I went to the mosque myself. I visited the mosque myself. I have a whole video coming up that I saw people going to the mosque to pray. In the Shanshin Grand Mosque, I saw the imam myself. I saw people walk into the mosque. I heard the music. I heard the recitation of the Quran and everything. So
wow,
that's why I tell people it's very important for people to have the power or the ability to travel from one place to another. And it's not just like China. I mean, people even have this prejudice of even Africa being barbaric until they go there. It's the same in China. If you have people access to China, China now opens its border to a lot of countries to come for free. And people can now see China with their own eyes and can experience the life here. So yeah, when I went to Xinjiang, I saw people, I saw the mosque, I saw people practicing their religion on the street. They can walk straight into the mosque. Yeah, and I saw that.
Wow. I find it interesting that you're not able to go into all the mosques. I was curious about that also because I want to do the same thing that you did. I don't know if I'm going to go to 10, but definitely that's good on you. I want to ask, if we're here in China 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, like you have been, you've seen that China was moderately developed and now it's very well developed. So I wanted to
Mm.
get your impressions about the economic development of Xinjiang. Did you feel that it was prospering? Are they doing well there?
Of course. Like the one funny thing I saw was rapid bus transport in Xinjiang. I saw rapid bus transport in Xinjiang. I'm like, this doesn't look like a place that is being genocide, because whatever that I've seen in major cities in China, I've seen the same in Xinjiang. When I went there, one of the biggest banking halls that I've seen, that ICBC bank that I've seen in China, I saw it in Xinjiang. Yes,
Wow.
it was very huge. I'm like, I've seen banks in China, but this is one of the biggest banks I've seen in China. It was in Xinjiang. The
Wow.
building is
I saw
very
one too.
huge.
What stood out to me, I saw one there. Maybe it's the same one. I don't know. But what stood out to me was that they had the ICBC logo, and then it had in Uyghur that it was a bank also written on the
Exactly,
same building.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I saw people, I mean, doing business on the streets, street food vendors, people running restaurants, people running different places like for economic activity. I saw hotels. I saw things like, I'm like, oh, it's totally different. I mean, if I've never been to Xinjiang and you are far away from China, definitely you'll be influenced by what you see until you get there. What
Mm,
I've experienced in Xinjiang looks just like in Weihai. I saw people walking on
mm,
the streets freely.
mm.
The only difference that I saw in Xinjiang, which I don't see in Weihai, is the lot of the police presence on the streets.
Mhm,
And I heard it's because of the previous reasons of tension in the region.
mhm.
That is why the police is maintaining law and order. So you walk maybe 100, 200 meters, 300 meters, you see a police van patrolling on the street. And also, I went during the Chinese New Year, which is the Golden Week of China, which in every
Yeah.
city there's a lot of police presence because they have to maintain law and order, because people are traveling in places at a particular point in time. So there are a lot of people. So in that in sense, it makes sense why there were a lot of also police presence in that time when I went to Xinjiang.
I think that when I go to train stations in China, even when it's not travel time, there's always a big security vehicle at the train stations or in front of major airports. And that's actually not so different from the United States. At major, transit hubs and things, there's security. There's increased security. That's why we have the TSA. That's why, so I don't think it's that abnormal, especially given the recent history of the region where there was, in fact,
Exactly.
there were some events that would precipitate increased security. But what about you? Did you feel safe there?
I mean, I've been living in China for 11 years. I've never felt any reason to feel unsafe or to think about my security. I mean, I've traveled across China. I travel mostly alone. I'm always out. When I travel, I go out late night. It's the same. I never thought like now something going to happen to me in Xinjiang. You know, I was in Xinjiang and I knew I was in Xinjiang. Xinjiang is part of China. I never felt like I need to look over my shoulder. Somebody's coming for me. Never, never. And it has never happened to me living here for 10 years. It's the same because I feel like I'm not doing anything illegal in China.
Mm,
When the policeman stopped me, I know I have a resident permit to travel. I know I live in China and I have legal means to stay in China. So I never had any reason to, create any scene like, why am I being stopped by the police or whatever? Because I feel like I have to respect the laws of the country too. If I'm living in a foreign country as a foreigner, the best way I could do, or I can do for myself and for the country, is to respect the laws of the country. So
mm.
I think living here for so many years, I've never done anything illegal for me to look over my shoulder like, okay, somebody's coming for me. No. And I never
Right.
felt unsafe in Xinjiang. And I think it's the same when I go to Guangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai. It's the same feeling. And Xinjiang was never different.
Mm. Well, how would you compare? What was not the same about Xinjiang versus some of the other regions of China that you've been to?
The language,
The
I think the
language.
language is like, because it felt like I was in a different country because people were speaking different language. And actually, when I
Right.
posted a video of me dancing at the city square on my social media platform, somebody said like, I'm lying, I'm not in China, because the music they didn't sound like Chinese music. And I told them China is made up of about 52 ethnic groups, and these people are listening to their ethnic local music. So you are in China, though you are in China. If you go to Xinjiang, the ethnic group or the background of those people is totally different from when you come to Weihai. So I was in China. Yes, I was in China, but the people over there, they speak different language, they practice different culture.
That's actually something, in my travels I haven't done enough of. I got to encounter a lot of Hui people and a lot of Tibetan people and a lot of Uyghur people, but there are 55 minorities, and I have
Right.
not really explored that. Even though I've been to many of the places in China, I haven't explored all of these minority groups, their differences in their culture, languages, and styles of dress and dancing. That might be after I finish visiting the different parts of China, which has been a big goal of mine. I might have to go back again just to visit like different smaller ethnic groups and kind of like explore the differences in culture, because there's a metaphor here in China about pomegranate. I don't know if you know it. It's like
Oh my God,
inside
yeah.
the pomegranate there are many seeds, but it's all part of one fruit, and that's the way like China likes to perceive itself and all of its minorities. So I'd really like to investigate more of that, personally through my own travels as well. Um, Before we move on to like some of your other travels in China, is there any last thoughts that you have about Xinjiang that you might want people to know versus what they may think about the region?
Whoever controls the media controls the narrative, and so I feel like people who are coming to China should also add Xinjiang to their itinerary of places to see. And I know I was in Xinjiang for 3 days, and it's not enough. I'm surely going to go back and go to the other place of Xinjiang, and people should go there and experience the life for themselves and have their own experiences. Never always rely on what people tell you. Don't even rely on Kwesi. Don't even rely on Jason. Just come and have your own experiences. Just go and experience the culture, eat the food, dance to the music, buy some souvenir for yourselves, and you form your own judgment, because it is a beautiful place to be. And when we were traveling to Xinjiang, I was looking to um, the window seats and I was seeing the mountains and all that. I'm like, oh, this is so different. This is so different. This is so different. And I mean, going to a place that makes you feel like you're in a different country, it's beautiful. The language is beautiful. The language sounds so different to me because my ears are used to listening to Mandarin all the time in Weihai. Then I go to a place that people are speaking a language that I don't understand. But I tried my best to learn some phrases which I've forgotten already. Because on the streets, what I did when I was in Xinjiang was also to learn a bit of the culture. So what I was doing is when I'm buying something, I'll try for them to teach me in their local language. For example, they taught me how to say thank you, how to say yummy, how to say my name is, how to say where am I from. I learned all those phrases because it was a way to also get a bit of the culture from the people, because
Mm.
it was my first time there. And yeah, I had a great time. So I feel like people should go to experience Xinjiang. Don't just go to Guangzhou, Shanghai, go to the different places of China that people don't really want to go because of the narrative that I've been told for so many years. Just go and have your own judgment.
I find that you bring up an interesting point, because I find it challenging trying to myself to give people suggestions of where to go. Because you come to Beijing. There's no, say a person is on vacation for 2 weeks. You can't even finish Beijing in 2 weeks. And
Exactly.
how do you visit China in 2 weeks? It's not
You can't.
possible.
It's not possible.
Yeah.
It's not
You
possible.
got, I mean, you've been here 11 years. I've been here about the same, and I haven't seen everything there is to see. Even the provinces I've been to, I've only been to one or two cities. I need to go back and like explore the other parts and the other regions, and there's just so much. I mean, China is many diverse like kinds of
Diverse, diverse. And the
scenes
funny thing
and
about
people.
China, the funny thing about China is I live in Yantai for 7 years. Anytime I go to Yantai, I was here literally 3 years ago. The place I lived in Yantai before I moved to Weihai, that community was called Tielang Huarien. Then I went back after living in Weihai for a couple of years. I went back because I've been in Weihai for 3 years now. They changed the whole road into a highway with different overpass flying all over the. I'm like, no, it was just different when I was here just 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So China, I don't know how they are doing it, because the speed of development that is going on in China is crazy. Because in my country, in Ghana, when a project starts, sometimes it goes for 10 years without being done. But China started a project and 2 3 years, boom, is done.
Mm.
Two things
Yeah, I
are
have
doing
the
is
same
that.
experience. I have the same experience. I think Ghana and the United States were proceeding at the same pace. Like, because for the United States case, it's been developed, so it just stayed that way. It got
Mm,
finished in the 60s, the 1960s and 70s, and then it just really hasn't changed much over that whole time. So how my mom's hometown looked in 1985 and how it looks now, it's almost exactly the same. But
mm.
you're right. You go explore a part of China, then you go back later, it's like this isn't what it was like before. So
Yeah,
you could be
let me,
traveling all around all the time trying to see it, and it's changing faster than you
it's,
can
really-
like
it's crazy, man.
see
This
it.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about Yantai. When I moved to Yantai at that time, Yantai had just a little military airport. Do you know that
Yeah, I remember
Yantai?
that. Yes, I remember.
Yeah, they have T2 now. Yantai has a new airport, new terminal.
Yeah.
I used that
I,
when I was going to Cambodia. I flew to Xinjiang from Yantai, and there's a new complete developed terminal T2, which is amazing. It's so beautiful.
the first time you remind me that I forgot that. Now that you're saying that, I remember in 2013, my first trip to Yantai, I remember landing in an airport and looking out and seeing fighter jets in hangars and thinking, what kind of airport is this? And now you don't land there. You land at a normal, yeah,
You know,
airport, like
normal
a commercial airport.
Hanoi,
Yeah.
Hanoi International Airport, which was T1, but now they built a T2 in June this year.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so I mean, just in the last since the end of the pandemic, what cities have you been to? Where have you been to? What provinces? Where have you been traveling?
Oh man. I've been to Hangzhou, I've been to Wuhan, I've been to Shanghai, I've been to Beijing, I've been to Shenyang. Actually, we drove from all the way from Shandong province to Hanai province, Sanya.
You drove to Sanya.
We drove to Sanya from Shandong.
Wow. Wow. That
Yeah,
was that's more than one day. That's like 2 days,
yeah,
right?
we drove about 38 hours.
30.
So
Wow.
it was
Amazing.
this year, Chinese New Year. I went to Ghana. When I got back, I'm like, a friend of mine also came from Ghana. He was like, "Question, let's do something crazy." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" "Well, let's go to Sanya." So when he said, "Let's go to Sanya," I thought we were gonna fly there, and I was like, "No, let's drive." So
That's
um,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, the friend gave us a Maybach. We hopped on the Maybach and we drove from all the way from Shandong to Sanya. And that's when I really, really appreciate China for the development they've built, how the whole country is connected. Because we're able to drove through about 5 provinces on the road. And this is first class road. In my country,
Mhm.
Ghana, if you are driving for 5 hours, you need to dodge potholes, you need to dodge. It was so smooth. And one thing I really appreciated about this trip was the fact that you drove like 10 kilometers and there's a rest stop.
Mm.
A rest stop, you can rest, you can take a break, you can charge your EV car, you can recharge your car, you can sleep in a restaurant out of nowhere. These rest stops are built out of nowhere, not in a city, you know. And it was so smooth. There was no harassment of police on the road, like I'm checking this. It was just a smooth ride. And
Yeah, there's lots of cameras I've noticed on
yeah,
the highway.
you got the
Tons of
cameras.
them.
Yeah, you got cameras. And one thing that blew my mind was when we got to Sanya. And we got to Haiku and we had to get on the boat. So we had to put a car on a boat because of the sea. When you get to Haiku, you need to go by boat to Sanya if you are by the road. So when we got to Haiku, we had to put a car on the boat at the Haiku ferry station. And that's what blew my mind. Because when I go to a ferry station, I was like, oh my God, is this a ferry station? That ferry station I saw in Haiku is way better than some of the airports I've seen around the world. I'm
Well,
not gonna lie. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
that's pretty
For this
impressive.
video, you can just go online and search for the Haiku ferry station.
Mm, mm.
It's
It's
so
interesting
magnificent.
because I have the
Mm,
same experience as you just recently. My was not yours is much longer, but my wife and I drove from Beijing to Wuhan, and so like the stops are very interesting because they're like a little tiny town almost. There's
mm.
like one or two restaurants, huge shop. There's EV charging. There's a gas station there, and then people are just kind of having picnics and hanging out. And it was really interesting because like actually it's sort of reminded me of South Korea has similar like gas all in one gas station little town villa place, very different from the United States where there's just like a gas station shop and that's it. That's all you get. And then maybe down the road there's like a McDonald's or something. But like in China, you have these whole like little tiny like rest stop area where it's like everything all in one periodically throughout the roads. What did your friend think of Sunya?
I mean, it was different. When I got to China, I was like, okay, I'm now in the tropical region of China because the ocean looks so different from the one I see in Weihai and Yantai,
Mm.
And we were hosted by a Chinese person. They hosted us in their family house. It was an amazing time over there. We spent the Chinese New Year with the family. We went into the farms. We went to the beach. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience in Sanya. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, my wife, every time we go there, it's interesting. She buys coconuts because she loves the coconut milk.
Mm.
And we find that even though we're on an island where they grow coconuts, the coconuts are twice as expensive in Sanya as
Massive,
they are
yeah.
in Beijing. And so in
Yeah.
Beijing, you can go to the store and get one for 10 kwai, but in Sanya, you have to pay like 20 kwai. So
Yes.
like,
Sanya is pretty expensive. Even the hotels are expensive. But I mean, it's they call it the Hawaii of China, so it makes sense. And it's also a gateway for people to get away from the busy life and go have a now kind of relaxing moment. So Sanya is it's quite expensive to go there, but yeah, it's worth it.
I think the best time is probably for China. And if you're living in the north like we are, just go in the middle of the winter because it's like,
Exactly.
just
Mm.
escape the snow.
Escape the cold weather of Shandong provinces and yeah, Beijing and just go to Sanya. Yeah.
Well, you kind of touched on this at the beginning of the program, but I wanted to ask you, you're very successful on YouTube. What's your approach to making a video? How do you do that? What's your process like?
I mean, for me, creating content is about finding what works for you. For over the years, I started off as a family content creator. That's when my wife and my daughter was here in China. We were creating content that relates to our life in China. But when my family left China, I had to switch up a bit. So I had this idea of doing what's called Living in China series, where I interview
Mm.
foreigners. So now basically what I do is find a foreigner. So mostly through social media platforms, like maybe on IG, I see a foreigner and I will message you and I'll show you, I'll send a catalog of what I do. If you're interested, like I book an appointment, then I'll also meet up. Mostly people also send referrals of people that they think, oh, Kwesi, this person has been in China for years. Can you just link up with this person and see whether he'll be interested to share his experiences? And yeah, that has been my approach so far. But when I'm on the streets, it's just random. When I'm on the street, I have my camera in one hand and have my questions in one hand. So I just approach you and I say, oh, this is what I do. And I'll show you my YouTube page. If you're interested, then right on the street, we just do it.
I noticed recently you interviewed Cyrus Jansen. He's
Yeah.
also, like you, very successful online. So do you interview the same people more than once, or is it always an attempt to get to someone new?
No, it's always, I've never interviewed one person like twice, never. It's just, I'm done with you. You've shared experience, that we just move on. But there's
Someone else.
there's one person I want to interview again. I interviewed this man who has been in China for over 40 years. He's in Beijing, the Belgian man.
Oh, I've
He's
heard
very,
of him. I've heard of
yeah.
him.
So I actually need to go to Beijing to interview him again because we did an interview, but I saw something that is very fascinating. So in his house, he has a wall, which I call the Hall of Fame. So on the wall, he has pictures with big dignitaries in China, big people in China, because that man has been instrumental in the Chinese development. So he has met a lot of big men, a lot of politicians, a lot of old, politicians in China, a lot of foreign dignitaries that have been in China. So I saw that in his house. I'm like, I need to come. So you tell me a story about every picture on this wall. So yeah, probably he's gonna
Are
be
you
the
talking
second person
about?
I'm gonna.
Are you? I'm not sure if you're talking about a different person or is it Gilbert von Kerkhove or someone else?
Yeah, he's the person. Gilbert.
Oh yeah, yeah. He has a dinner for people like you who've been in China for more than 10 years. Once a month, they have a lunch at a restaurant in Sanlitun where like all these foreigners, they call it old hands, get together and like have lunch together.
Yeah,
You
he told
could
me about
go
that.
there and get like 20 clients.
One of these days, I think I need to talk to him and just get an invitation to be part of it. Yeah, he told me about it.
Yeah, yeah. We interviewed him one time. Also, I'd like to interview him as well. He wrote a book called "Toxic Capitalism." It's not an anti-capitalism thing. It's actually just about how we use too much stuff, plastic lids, and how we need to recycle better and stop using so much junk. And I think that's a good idea. Like everyone in
Yeah,
the world, we use less stuff. So he's a fascinating guy. There's so many people everywhere in China for you to interview. You'll never run out of people.
yeah. Actually, sometimes I even get email from people that watches my, like, because I have my email and my contact in my on my all social media platforms. Sometimes people just send random email like, "Oh, I've been here for this number of years, and if anytime you're in my city, just link up and let's talk." Because people are willing to tell their own story. It's not like we
Mm.
are being forced to speak out. We are being told, or we are being paid to speak out. These are people who are willing to just talk about their experiences here. And for me, I actually went to Cambodia this summer. I went to Japan. I went to Thailand, and I did the same thing. I did the same thing that I'm doing in China. It's something that I really want to do. So in the long run, I want to just travel around Asia countries and do the same thing that I'm doing now. So I have video that I did in Cambodia. That's already on my channel. I interviewed foreigners in Cambodia. I did the same in Thailand. I did the same in Japan, which are all coming up. So it's not like people are forced to just speak up because they're in China. It's something that I'm doing that I want to do in the long run, go to different countries and just talk to people.
Well, can I ask you a little bit about people in your home country of Ghana? Do they follow you? What do they think about your experiences? Are you like kind of like a cultural ambassador for people there?
I mean, the feedback has been great. The feedback has been great. You get a bit of backlash sometimes, but it's all part of the process, because people also feel like I'm being sponsored by the Chinese government to make these kind of videos to paint China in a light that is not true. That's to people that have never been to China. So in their mind, whatever I'm sharing on my social media platforms is kind of a paid content. But
Mm.
people who really knows who I am and where I've been from, or where am I from, and where I'm going, and understand the work that I do, they appreciate the work I do. And yeah, the feedback has been great. But like I said, there's always people that will come for you because of one, you are in China.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess the media then in Ghana is similar to where I'm from. I'm just kind of surprised. I didn't know that it was like that everywhere. In the United States, there's a lot of media about China, which is unfair, and it paints China in this really weird way. And then, you get here. I remember the first time I came here in 2012. I mean, I guess the first time to live here, I was a little like, okay, what's this going to be like? I'm scared. Maybe it's not going to be good. Maybe they're all right, and I'm going to have to go back. And then I arrived here, and I was just like, oh, it's pretty cool, actually. One of the things I like the most, as you mentioned earlier, safety. Just like, I don't know what it's like
Yeah.
in Ghana. I can't speak to that, but in the United States, we have a lot of crime. There's like guns, and it's very serious. There's a lot of street crime, and I can't. You can get this feeling instantly. Like within the first couple of days, like I don't need to be worried here. Like I don't even need to watch my back here. All I need to do is make sure I don't lose my phone, and everything else is
Yeah.
okay. Like, yeah, as long as I don't leave my phone somewhere, like no one's gonna take it or anything. I've seen videos where people put their laptop in a Starbucks and then leave. They come
Yeah.
back like 30 minutes later, it's still there.
Let's do
Like
it.
it's
Let's do
just
it.
you could
It's
not do
crazy.
that in America. You could not
It's
do that in America.
when I was going to my okay to say that even Ghana is also pretty safe, but I think China is safer because in China there are a lot of cameras that are so in China, like, because of the cameras, people in their mind, somebody's watching you. So you don't need to do those things because you'll be caught in a minute. So recently when I was traveling to Shenzhen, when I saw the airport at Yenta, I was so fascinated. Like, okay, then I went live on TikTok. So when I went live on TikTok, I was just walking around. Then I left my bag, my two bags, and my camera, which contained my laptop, my wallet, my passport at the boarding gate. And I went for over 20 minutes. When I came back, everything was there.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Everything,
amazing. I mean,
everything was
how
there.
many countries in the world could you do that? I mean, it's just really remarkable. And I don't want to just paint it's China is so great. Actually, I feel like South Korea, Japan are similar. Like people are generally going to respect your stuff. They don't really, no one's interested in stealing from you.
Yeah,
Everyone
yeah.
has something, their own life going on. It's just a different culture. It may be in some parts of the world. I don't want to say it's just East Asia either. I'm sure there are lots of other safe countries. But for me personally, coming from the United States, I'm really happy here because I don't have to worry about these kinds of things. Fortunately, I'm not someone who leaves my phone behind, so I don't have problems. We're running out of time. I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on to talk with me about your experiences here. And hopefully, I can have you back on next year sometime as well.
Yeah, I mean, always available. Just message away. You know, you have my WeChat, you have my Instagram, and everywhere. So anytime you want us to talk about any topic, just yeah, reach out to me, and I'll be gladly here to talk about my experiences here. I mean, this has been my home for 11 years, and it has given me most of the opportunities that I have in life. I had my daughter born here, and yeah, I still live here, though my family is far away from me, but I still have a great time, and I'm still living here. So yeah, China is my second home.